Hey, what's up guys, BY Gaming here, and in today's video we are going to be taking a look at the leaked moveset of the new bounty hunt monster that will be coming out, which is of course Gobzlayer. So here he is right here, and as you can see we do not know any information about him as of this moment in time, aside from his moveset, so that is what we will be looking at today. So that being said, please remember to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you have not already. Now, that being said, here is the moveset, so let's jump right into it. We have Purely Evil, moderate metal damage, 0 cooldown. Next we have Cruel and Coward. It does AoE low metal damage and 0 cooldown. And next we have Voracious Hunger, AoE heavy metal damage plus bleed. So as of this point, we've only seen just, attack moves, but this one has bleed, which means that it actually does damage over time and also decreases the enemy's attack power. So that is very good to see, right? Anything that can do extra damage over time and kind of hinder the amount of damage that you take is a really good move, right? And helps you knock the enemy out faster. Next we have Let's Go Crazy, and this is where things start to get a little bit crazy. Although I have to say I'm not a big fan of this move, just looking at what it does right from the start. Self triple damage plus vulnerable, and I do believe that, based on the description up here, Let's Go Crazy actually applies vulnerable to itself, which means that this is basically one of those setup moves that makes you a sitting duck, and yet also increases your damage output at the same time. So it's basically like a glass cannon kind of move where you have to wait a turn for, the bonuses to kick in here. So you do apply self triple damage, but you have to survive until the next turn with it still applied for it to actually have any kind of meaning. And all the while you take 50% more damage from incoming moves, which means that if you are hit with, let's say, Pierce, because, Pierce obviously bypasses Megaton, so you can't protect yourself from it. You're going to be taking more damage, and assuming this guy doesn't have a very strong life stat or something like that, or, there's damage reduction up or something, you could potentially die before you get the self-triple damage off, or maybe the enemy could just cleanse it off of you, so, you won't get to use it anyway, and you'll take damage. So I'm not crazy about Let's Go Crazy, right? That's my verdict on that move. Next, we have Dirty Cut. Does very heavy metal damage plus bleed. So again, this is, and also it has 0 cooldown, which is nice. So assuming that you actually have some kind of stamina regen, be it through a relic or, through ally support, such as stamina regeneration, whatever the case may be, you can actually spam this move and it does very heavy metal damage, which is very nice. Good damage output plus bleed again, which, increases your damage output with damage over time and also decreases the enemy's attack at the same time by, I believe it's 20%, right? So that is very good. Dirty Cut. Good move, definitely very reliable if you are stuck in a pinch, because cooldown activation does not affect you when you have this move. And you can still have stamina to use the move, of course. Next we have Mechanical Horses. This is a self artifact hater plus double damage plus precision to itself. And so this is, I guess you could say, a pretty good setup move. But again, this is one of, those moves that requires setup to use, so you do have to wait a turn before all of this stuff kicks in. But self-artifact hater that allows you to do triple damage against artifact monsters, and of course there are 2 in top tier play right now, right? Crew Electric, and of course there is the newer bounty hunt monster, the exclusive one, Meltius. So self-artifact hater, I believe, does triple damage to artifact monsters, and double damage further increases its damage output. So if you do get hit after this guy does set up and you're running artifact as a trait, you're going to be knocked out almost for sure. And precision is pretty good as well. That means that it's going to decrease the chances of it missing, right, by boosting its own accuracy. So this is a, pretty good setup move, but I do like the next one better. Break and Shred. It has self-artifact hater, right, applies that to itself, and does massive metal damage. So you don't have to wait for the self-artifact hater to kick in. It automatically is there right from the start. So you apply it and then you do massive metal damage, which means that you can do all of this in the same turn. So you apply the artifact hater, you get the triple damage against the artifact monster, you go for the kill right away, and you do massive metal damage. So that most likely will, seriously dent the monster that has artifact, if not straight up kill it. So I like Break and Shred a lot better because it just gets right down to business. Doesn't wait for, it doesn't have to wait a turn before it gets the attack in. So I like Break and Shred more than Mechanical Horses for sure. Next we have X-Layer, and this is a pretty interesting move. I looked at it briefly beforehand. Very heavy metal damage plus trait disabled plus very heavy metal damage, right? And we don't know the stamina cost or cooldown here, but basically this can actually help you against the new Megaton trait monster, right? Pan Goliath, because this actually does very heavy metal damage and then disables the trait, so you can get rid of the Megaton all while doing a lot of damage, and then it hits again for very heavy metal damage. And I believe it's the same target, but yeah, I actually have a question for you guys. How does this actually work if the enemy also has a taunt monster? So let's say the enemy's running a Pan Goliath, you do very heavy metal damage, it takes that, right, because it has Megaton, you disable the trait, and so this guy doesn't have Megaton anymore, right? The Pan Goliath doesn't have Megaton. And then the very heavy metal damage, does it also go right to the Pan Goliath, or does it get redirected to the taunt monster? I'm actually curious about how that works, because I'm not sure, to be honest with you. But nevertheless, this is a pretty good move, I believe. It has, it has 2 attacks and 1 attack, and it also disables the trait. So that can be very useful, especially with dealing with Pan Goliath, I believe, because he is the new Megaton monster that I believe you will be seeing quite often. People will be running him. I have seen him a handful of times already. And finally, we do have Ruthless Backstab, which is a special. And so this applies vulnerable, I believe, to the enemy in this case, right? Does insane metal damage and has a 50% life removal. So this is a pretty crazy damage output move. It has vulnerable, so the enemy takes more damage. It immediately does insane metal damage after vulnerable has been applied. I believe this is single target. So if that doesn't kill you, the 50% life removal might. And again, this guy does not have any shield breakers, nor does it have pierce, so it does have to rely on pure damage output. But yeah, this is a very strong move nonetheless, and it most likely will kill. If it doesn't, it will do a lot of damage, right? If the enemy has shields up and damage reduction or something like that, this might be another story, but in general, this is probably going to do a large dent into whatever it attacks. But again, it is a special, which means you cannot use it all that reliably. In fact, I believe it's a 3% spawn rate, so that means that it's going to be completely random, and again, it's not reliable. I typically like to look at the main moves and not the special when I'm judging a monster on its moveset. So that is pretty much going to be the leaked moveset for this monster. Pretty cool. Seems like, a raw damage attacker. We don't know any of its stats so far, so we're going to have to wait and see. But yeah, it's pretty cool because this is going to be the free bounty hunt monster, if I'm not mistaken, which means that he is going to be pretty easy to get, right? All of the other bounty hunt monsters, such as Mojodrax, Stalkkiller, and Viatrix, were all, pretty simple to get, assuming they haven't changed any mechanics of the bounty hunt. So he will be easy to obtain, which is nice. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of this guy's moveset down in the comments section below. And also, please feel free to give me some clarity on what this move actually does, the X layer, because I'm not entirely sure what would happen if there is a taunt monster on the field at the same time. So yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for this video, guys. If you liked it, please remember to leave a like on the video, please subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.